motion today on this heinous topic. Justice, Mr. Speaker. That very word can be interpreted in many ways. It can bring comfort to those who have been wronged but made right. To others, it can instill a sense of comfort, knowing that regardless of your social standing or position, the law is blind to such things and all are equal before the courts. For some, that word means the beginning of a new chapter. For others, it means the end. But in most cases, that word should mean closure, as justice has been delivered. Not only must justice be done, it must be seen to be done. It is hard to find a universally accepted description of the word, but I think most Canadians know justice when they see it. And what we have learned these past few weeks is disturbing. I have struggled to digest what we have been told. It has shaken the nation, and many are in disbelief. I have tried to find the words that could somehow explain what happened, and I have failed. No words could ever alleviate the sadness and repair the damage that has been done to the family of Tori Stafford. As a Canadian, I share that sense of frustration with my fellow citizens that our system has failed. As a parliamentarian, I am ashamed that this could ever have happened. And as a father, I pray that justice will prevail and this nightmare will end. Like most Canadians sitting at home watching this debate, I too ask, how did this happen? Or how could our system allow this to occur? How could someone who confessed, was sentenced to life, and was nowhere close to even remotely being considered for parole be sent to a healing lodge? I have a million reasons for why this was a terrible mistake, and I cannot think of one, not one justification for why this ever could have happened. Just yesterday at Queen's Park, all political parties united to condemn this action. They put aside their partisanship. They stood shoulder to shoulder as Canadians, as parents, and as elected representatives to call on the federal government to reverse this decision. This is exactly what we should be doing right here and right now. And to the family of Tori, I am sorry. I regret that you must go through this again. Our system has failed you. There is no excuse or reasoning that could ever begin to rationalize this decision. We as parliamentarians must act. Canadians have entrusted in us the power to provide leadership, and today is that day where leadership is needed. The government must exercise its moral, legal, and political authority to ensure this decision is reversed. It is also clear that we need to ensure that it never happens again. A system that allows this sort of transfer that occurred under these circumstances erodes the very trust our judicial system is dependent upon. There is no justice when a convicted child murderer who has just served a fraction of her time is sent to a healing lodge. A convicted child murderer who, by the way, carried out violent behavior while in jail deserves no special treatment or sympathy. A convicted child murderer who said herself, and I quote, "Spending the next few decades of life in prison is nothing compared to what Tori was robbed of," end quote. Today we must stand up for Tori, as sadly she cannot speak for herself. Let's ensure that this act of evil deserves the punishment that it so rightfully deserves. The convicted murderer knows herself that she deserves to be in prison. She knew the day she was sentenced that she would be sent away for a very long time for the atrocious crime she committed and for the life that she stole. Let there be no ambiguity in this debate. This individual deserves no favors from our penal system. There should be no sense of normalcy in her life while she serves her time. Her crime was not an act of rage or carelessness. It was a calculated, orchestrated, and deliberate act of evil. And there was no argument that could ever convince me that this woman should be in a fenceless facility. It is abundantly evident that if a policy needs to be changed, then let's do it. If we need to stay in this chamber all day and all night
Hear, hear.
to find a solution, you will find a willing partner in our caucus.
Hear, hear.
There is no doubt that there is a problem, for there is no explanation for this transfer. She should never be in the same vicinity as children. She is taking a spot of someone who perhaps could be best served in a healing lodge. And my heart aches for Tori's family. No family should ever have to go through this. Please know there are millions of Canadians who have you in their thoughts right now. Mr. Speaker, many constituents have contacted me in the last week to express their horror that the penal system could have allowed this to happen. I want the family to know you are not alone in this struggle, and you are most certainly not wrong in wanting this decision to be reversed. Just this morning, the lead investigator who helped to discover the truth about Tori denounced the action of transferring this murderer to a healing lodge. Bill Renton, who oversaw the OPP investigation, released a statement in which he said, and I quote, "I echo the concerns of the nation. I believe the correctional system needs to be predicated on rehabilitation for those who have committed crimes and proven themselves worthy." We question McClintock's move to the healing center at such an early stage of her just and proper guilty verdict of first-degree murder and sentence of life imprisonment with no parole eligibility for 25 years, end quote. These are not the comments of someone who just has an opinion, Mr. Speaker. This is the concern of a man who investigated this heinous crime. There is no element of this case that Mr. Renton does not know. It would be in all of us, in all of our interests, to listen carefully to what he had to say. I truly believe that it is within all of us to put aside our differences and to do what is right. I call upon my colleagues to join us in our motion.
Yes.
We are sent here to make difficult decisions. As pointed out by my colleagues from Moose Jaw, Lake Centre, Lanigan, a few moments ago, we cannot shirk our collective responsibilities that are expected of us. Section 96 of the Corrections and Conditional Release Act give the Minister of Public Safety broad authority to issue directives on conditions of confinement. All it would take for this individual who committed these horrific crimes and to be back behind bars is the will of the minister. He could ensure the criteria of those being sent to a healing lodge could never be extended to someone who committed these crimes that is literally years away from ever being considered for parole. In Canada, we have a system of responsible government where the bureaucracy is accountable to Canadians through a cabinet minister. Asking for the department to change its policies should not be considered a dramatic step. It is exactly why we elected members of parliament in the first place.
That's right.
This woman has already been tried and convicted. There are no questions regarding the verdict of the court, so therefore it is not unreasonable for us as elected representatives to demand that Corrections Canada's policies be changed. If we are allowing a child murderer who is serving a life sentence to be sent to a facility that has family residential units and where children may be present, we need to change this. And if we have a system that allows a convicted person with this history to have their own unit with a kitchenette, with an eating area and a living room, we need to stop this. Let us give justice to Tori. I implore my colleagues to stand united. Let this be the day that we ensure that this sort of situation never happens again.
Questions and comments? Question commentaire. The honourable member for Peace River.